So I got a newsletter yesterday from Half the Story, and they talked about Gen Z and nostalgia.
Hmm.
And I realized as I was reading it, this is one of those intergenerational gaps between you and your community and me and mine that I literally don't understand.
What do you not understand about it?
Are you nostalgic?
Of what?
Just things in the world?
Well, yeah, I think everyone is. Especially when you grow into adulthood, I think that you become nostalgic of easier days. But I think what they're probably hitting at and or hinting at, um, is there's this weird like Gen Z and I assume Gen Alpha, but I could be wrong. But there's just a general younger generation nostalgia for what we didn't have in a weird way. So it's kind of this sense of I wish I had nostalgia for a childhood of running around. Like I kind of had it because again, I started to get social media going into middle school. And so, or like at the age of 12, so I was going up the ladder educationally rather than just like running around at recess all day. But I feel like there is a general sense of longing for a kind of childhood that we didn't have. And I don't think that that's saying that it's a bad thing to grow up online necessarily. I think a lot of times people hear that, and specifically individuals like Jonathan Haidt say, oh, well, then we should bring back this running free child kind of like nostalgic era of what was. And I don't think that it's productive because we're never going to go back to an era where we have that. But I do think that it is kind of an indication of when it's an indication that if so many young people are feeling nostalgic for an era and an experience they never had, that we should shift the status quo in the current moment and not towards something that's unachievable and unattainable, but towards something that's a little bit more in line with our well-being and our best interests. So I'm saying, one kind of example of that is getting the phones out of the dinner table. Like have moments of peace with your family and the people around you that feels fulfilling and meaningful, and that doesn't just feel like another time for big tech to invade your life when you don't want it.
Less, but I guess I'm trying to, I genuinely, when I say I don't understand, like, I mean, I had different toys than you did growing up, but I'm not nostalgic for them. There's no part of me that wants to go back to that time. Is there something like, is it a character or a style or like,
I don't know. I think the point of nostalgia is it's different for each person. So each person has their own lived experiences. So each person longs for different parts of what they had or they didn't have. So I think that you have to boil it down to the individual level. I think you can have like general trends across younger generations and what type of nostalgia. So I think honestly, young people have just, excuse my language, they've inherited a like a world. So they've inherited a world in which we're being told that, climate change is, ever present. We're being told that there are wars everywhere that we didn't start, but that we're again inheriting. We're being told you have to adapt to AI or you won't get a job or you won't be successful. So I think that we've just inherited a really hard life. And so I think it's easier to look back and say, well, I'm nostalgic for easier times. I'm nostalgic for when I didn't understand, ignorance is bliss, like when I didn't understand the qualms that I was facing. And also, I think I feel nostalgic a lot when I think back in time to when I didn't have a deeper understanding of technology and the digital world in which, there's the maximization of attention at all costs. Like I
so,
wish that I didn't remember.
so I'm going to push back and tell you, as I think about it, I think that might not be true. And
What
I'll
part
tell,
is true?
and I think it might be technology that's the change. So I grew up hearing about the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Definite war, terribleness, the draft, people go, but it wasn't like in my feed. It was like kind of off to the side. I could kind of know mostly, I mean, 99% of the time, I ignored it. I had no exposure to the news as a kid,
But now you can't ignore it because it's
and now
constant.
you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
I remember growing up being very worried about the fact that we were destroying the ozone layer.
Yep. My mom always talks about how she in her school was told the puffins were going to die, and she was worried about the puffins.
I had no, I don't think and it had something to do with refrigeration and air conditioning, but now we don't talk about the ozone layer, so I guess we fixed it.
Well, it's just like, I don't think you can make that assumption. What you can assume, though, is that it's not sensational enough to live in your feed and to pop up over and over again. They've learned that there are other more tangible, awful things happening that warrant more attention and that creates more outrage online.
So when you think back to things you're nostalgic for, is it a certain kind of movie or a certain kind of music or a certain kind of fashion? Like, are there things that make you feel warm about things you don't have anymore?
No, there's nothing like I can't for me nostalgia is just like nostalgia is more of an aura, it's more of an overarching feeling and sensation. I can't pinpoint it back to like I'm nostalgic for, actually I can say like I'm nostalgic for, and it's kind of coming back in some regards, and I've talked with a lot of people about this. I'm nostalgic for having to sit in front of a TV at like 6 p.m. every day to catch an episode. Like the need to be like more timed out specifically and not more timed out. You could say the delay of instant gratification that social media provides you, and Hulu and Netflix. Like you can like they'll launch a series and you can watch every single episode and binge it. But the Pit and other streaming services have more delayed releases of episodes. And I've talked with tons of people in Gen Z who are around my age, so like 24, 25, and everyone said the same thing, which is it feels like I'm watching TV again as a kid. It feels again like I have that sense of like, ooh, excitement and suspense, and I have to wait for the next episode. So I'm nostalgic for that for sure, but I think people kind of demanded again that delay of instant gratification and demanded that experience, and it's kind of rolled back and been created again in some form.
Think it was Evan Shapiro wrote the other day that what we've lost is the ability to promo things. Like it
Mm,
used to be, there was an ad before so you know, Seinfeld was on, and whatever came on after it was a hit because
mhm,
it had a lead-in audience, and
mhm.
that's all gone. I mean, I find I'm not sure there's anything I'm watching that I think is great right now. And my younger friends, I mean, like I think you and I've talked about this because this stuff like I have a bunch of younger friends that are absolutely ecstatic about Love Island.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well,
I just couldn't give a shit.
there's something about the community that those type of shows create because again, like I think it's tapping into this deeper desire and need to like have a drawn out experience, right? Like you when you draw out an experience like an episode release where it's getting released every single Thursday, like I'm thinking of the Pit, but like every single Thursday at like 9 p.m. it gets released. I think that you not only create suspense, but you really build a community and content around around the show that you're releasing. So for me and with Love Island, they release it a lot more frequently. It's the one show that I should have gotten into. It's very up my speed, but I just didn't have time. But all the people around me would wait, and every day they'd be like, I get off my work and I go and I watch Love Island. It's the highlight of my day, and then I go on X and I look at what people have to say, and it's a mobilizing entity. So it creates community, and then instantly it's a beautiful way of being a part of a cultural moment because I can guarantee you, if you walk down the street, especially in New York 10 of the people that you walk past have an opinion on the show that you can share with each other.
Yeah. It's funny though. It's like TV creates community. Like I have to ponder that for a minute. That's or used to and should. I get that. Um,
Well, I
and
think
you always want to be careful not to tell someone something that happened if they don't know yet.
yep. I get banned by multiple friends of mine because I'm a spoiler person. But I think that it doesn't baffle me that TV creates community because I think TV creates worlds that you can escape into and that you can, analyze beyond the world that we currently live in, unless it's like I'm talking about like fantastical TV or like Love Island reality TV, where it's like it feels like a programmatic break from a hard world that you live in, specifically the world that you're fed online. So when I'm thinking or watching Love Island or I'm watching The Pit, even though The Pit was political, like I'm not thinking about, you know, the work that we do, which can sometimes be hard. I'm not thinking about climate change. I'm not thinking about wars. I'm not necessarily pondering that. And I know the same thing is true with a lot of my friends. They love, I think it's called House of the Dragon, House of Dragon. It's the Game of Thrones series. Um, so I just think that it's a nice escape for people and it really does create community.
So let's put a pin in the fact that I wanted to talk to you about welding because we'll do that next week. So file away that we'll talk about welding, blue collar jobs. All right, so in our journey to try and understand the gap between generations, this has been very helpful for me. I'm not going to watch Love Island. There's zero chance of that. But I
Mhm.
do, but I will end on this thought, which is reality TV is so clearly not real.
Yeah.
And social media is so clearly not social.
I think it's clearly not real. It's the same thing. I think you're fed a false you're just fed a false reality. You're told that social media is social in quotes and that it feeds you this real timeline of your life or feeds you real information. And to your point, Steve, I think it's important to be hyper vigilant of what you're actually consuming and what you're consuming is not real. Like especially when you think about young people getting their information from the online world, like think about the fact that I can guarantee you, most of the content you consume is not fact checked. Most of the content you consume is from influencers rather than experts. So I think it's important to maintain again hyper vigilant of what you're consuming and just be really realistic about it because and I think the thing I want to end on is I think nostalgia is it's an interesting feeling. I think it's warm, it's fuzzy, but yet it's bittersweet because it's a longing for something you no longer have or something that you want and that you are unable to obtain. So I think that it's kind of nostalgia can be fun to live in for a second, but it's just not productive. I think what is important is if you're nostalgic for an era of social media or an era of your life when you had more community, you can still look for that community. You still can gain the benefits of relational building and you still can get to moments of happiness that you might have obtained through running around on the playground by just looking at yourself critically and asking how can I build a better relationship with my technology and what I consume day in, day out.
I wrote down in my head, and I'll write it down on a piece of paper. Influencers are not experts.
No.
It's very smart. That's like one of those distinctions we should like that deserves a t-shirt, at least.
Or a bumper sticker.
This has been great. Talk to you later.